Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for Marking Time in Alliance YouTube on a Shoestring. Before we get started, just a few reminders for you here. Today's session and chat are being recorded. We ask that you use the chat and select all panelists and attendees to share your comments, responses to questions, and share resources. However, we do ask that if you have any questions throughout today's presentation, that you submit those through the Q&A box, which is separate from the chat via Zoom. If you have any technical issues today, please do not hesitate to reach out to us at dl@ohiohistory.org. With that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to your moderator and presenter today. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Leslie Wagner. I'll be your moderator for today. Welcome to Marking Time in Alliance, YouTube on a Shoestring. Karen Perone from the Alliance Historical Society will be your presenter for today. Karen recently retired from the Rodman Public Library in Alliance, where she was head of technology and technical services for over 25 years. She is past president of the Alliance Historical Society and currently serves on its board of directors. Karen is the owner of Flute-Brarian Web Design and works with many nonprofit organizations to help them set up their websites and get the most from what the web has to offer. With all that in mind, Karen, it's your time to shine.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to try to share my screen here and hopefully everything will work out just right. And there we go. So what I'd like to do today is show you how we create our video series called Marking Time in Alliance, and to show you that you don't need to have a lot of expensive equipment or expensive software to make just basic recordings of historical events that are happening in your community. Yeah. So what we'll cover today is that we're going to talk about how you go about picking the topics that you're going to cover, things that you need to do before you go out and start shooting video, minimum equipment and software that you need to have to make these videos. We'll talk a little bit about going on location and things that you need to look for and look out for when you're actually doing those video location shoots. Talk a little bit about how to gather your filler photos and extra videos that you might want to include in that video that you're making. We'll talk about post-production editing and then uploading that finished product to YouTube. And once you're finished, you want to make sure that you share your work so that everybody can enjoy what you've put all your time into. So we've got a lot to cover. But what I'd like to do is first of all start off by showing you one of our original videos. This was one of our early ones. We had put out a couple of videos and one of our members came forward and said that he had a drone. If we needed any drone footage, he'd be glad to help us out. So I'd like to show this one because it does show off the use of the drone as well as our other video stuff. To another episode of Marking Time in Alliance, a series of programs in which we will be exploring historical markers and other historical sites in and around Alliance, Ohio. I'm your host, Jim Perone, and today we're visiting The Crossing. The Crossing. The coming of railroads to Alliance is an important event in Stark County's history. In 1851, the Cleveland and Pittsburgh Railroad, running southeast to northwest, and the Ohio and Pennsylvania Railroad, running east to west, intersected at this location. It was known as the Crossing and became the village of Alliance. William Robinson Jr., the president of the Ohio and Pennsylvania Railroad, is credited with applying the name Alliance to the crossing.
dating to when the railroads bought right-of-ways in 1849 and anticipated the intersection of the lines. A plot named Alliance was recorded September 26, 1850. The village of Alliance was established in 1854 when 100 citizens of the communities of Williamsport, Freedom, and Alliance, also known as Liberty, signed a petition to incorporate on March 15th. The petition was accepted and recorded in June. This state historical marker was erected in 2017 and was funded by the Alliance Historical Society, the Wednesday Morning Tip Club of the Alliance Area Chamber of Commerce, and the Ohio History Connection. Thank you for joining us today on Marking Time in Alliance as we visit the crossing. We'll see you next time down the road.
So you can see there that this was a fairly straightforward one because we already had the text for the marker and we just basically read the text that was on our historical markers. So if you have historical markers in your community, those are usually, you know, the text has already been written for you. So you might want to start with something like that. And so let's talk a little bit about why you should be making these video recordings. Let's face it, if you don't do it, then somebody else will, and they won't do it nearly as well as what you can do. If you don't think that there are any videos out there about your city or your community, just go to YouTube and search for your community name, and you're going to find a lot of really bad recordings with incorrect information that's out there, putting your community in a bad light. So you need to get the correct information recorded. You'll also want to highlight any hidden items that you might have in your community or things that are in your collection that nobody sees. And then after all, your organization is the authoritative source and you need to get out there and share that knowledge with others. The idea for Marking Time in Alliance started several years ago when I came across a video, one of those terrible videos. A couple had stopped in Alliance and had filmed a short video about our carnation marker. And it was pretty bad. They obviously hadn't read any of the information that was on the marker, and they put Alliance in a worse light than what we wanted to have out there. So a little bit later, I came across a series of videos that were called The Grave Adventures of the Holmes County Library Ladies, where they visited the graves of people in the cemeteries of Holmes County. And they were quite humorous, they were informative, and they were very entertaining. Another series that inspired us is called History in Your Own Backyard. This is a professional company out of Indiana that will come to your community, and some of you may have used them, but they will do it for a fee, and they will do the research, shoot and produce the video, and then publish it to their website and publicize it. The videos are short again, and they are very well done. But probably the most inspiring, at least for my husband, was the granddaddy of them all, Neil Zerker, and his one-tank trips. He reported on little-known spots that were all within a short driving distance of Cleveland, and he used a series of cute little cars to get to the spots for the videos. So my husband Jim and I both recently retired, and we thought that this project would be what we call a fun couple activity. Jim's a retired music professor and university administrator, and he loves to be in front of the camera, in front of an audience, because he's a musician, right? And I was a librarian who liked doing research and working with technology and definitely staying behind the camera. So after all, we also had a cute car, and we thought this would be a great time to be able to get out and enjoy our little car. In general, most of our videos are between 2 to 4 minutes. According to a Microsoft study that was done in 2018, the average human attention span is only 8 seconds. This is 1 second shorter than that of a goldfish. The average length of time that's spent on a web page is even less than that. It's only, it's less than a minute. And if you get the attention of someone for 10 to 20 seconds on a web page, that's pretty good. So if they only read about 20% of the text that you have on a page, that doesn't say much for writing lengthy text articles. The good news is, however, that video does hold the attention of most internet users. And according to a Forbes study, the average length watched of an internet video is 2.7 minutes. So your video needs to tell a story in a very short period of time. And we've all heard of branding for our organizations. For video productions, we rely on hooks to tie the videos together and allow people to identify the series from just a short clip. You want to be able to include these hooks to provide continuity for your series and to make the video memorable to viewers. So that if they see the little car drive in, they know it's a Marking Time video. You need to come up for a title for your series and find a host or hosts to anchor the series. A catchphrase at the end of each episode helps to tie things together. And you may want to have something like a watch next time when we'll be at blah, 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 as a promo for your next episode if you can think that far ahead. But then last but not least, you want to make the episodes predictable or formulaic, yet vary things enough to make the episodes different and keep your viewers interested enough to come back looking for more. The introduction section of your episode should include some regular items to help brand your series. First, you want to come up with a catchy title for the series. Even though we could have called our series Historic Spots in Alliance, it tells what the series covers, but it's not going to get you very many viewers. Marking Time in Alliance is a bit more intriguing. Marking time denotes standing still or marching in place, but it also means that we're observing something historic in a point in time. We also wanted to feature the many commemorative markers that were around town, so marking could also mean marker. You want to name each of your episodes. This will help you keep track of the subject matter that's covered in that episode, and especially if you're listing the titles on, say, a web page or something, you'll be able to pick them out quicker. Rather than just randomly video recording things, you should have a regular host or maybe 1 or 2 hosts that help further brand your series. And you may want to interview guests as part of the series, but you'll need to accommodate them as you get ready to record. List the names of the guests in the introductory portion and then also in the end credits of the episode. The body of the episode is where the meat of the episode takes place. Things to include here and prepare ahead of time are the narrative for the episode. You want to write concisely and edit it thoroughly. If you aren't sure of something in the script, look it up and verify it. We've only been called out one time on one of our videos when somebody thought that the information that we had in it was incorrect, but the research that we had done, we felt strongly enough that their claim wasn't taken seriously, and we did not go back and modify that narrative. You want to pull together any still photographs and newspaper headlines that you might have on hand to add to the narrative, make it a little more dramatic. And you may also want to include video segments of the site or pull some video from interviews or other footage that you might have on hand to help add to that video process. For lack of a better term, I've come up with the term outro, which is the finishing of the episode, and it should thank the viewers for watching first and foremost, because they're the people that are taking advantage of your videos. Tell them where to get more information on the topic, list any production credits, and most importantly, include your copyright information. The copyright information is simply putting the copyright symbol, the year of the production, and the name of your organization, and that helps protect you from any pirating or sharing or claiming from other people that they did it. As a musician, I listen to theme songs a lot, and remember those sometimes more than the story, sadly to say. In order to make your video a little more memorable, I suggest coming up with a short theme song. This also helps with the branding for your series. There are several ways to get a theme song. There's stock music out there. You can just simply Google free theme song music for a list of royalty-free suppliers. You can look for music that is in the public domain or has a Creative Commons license, or you can hire a composer to write something for your series. Use the theme music for the beginning and the end title segments. Whether you use music in the background of the video or not is a matter of your choice. I personally don't like it. Having music throughout the video just tends to take away from the narration, in my opinion, but that's my choice. If you do decide to include music behind your narration, remember to keep it low enough so that the speaker's voice can be heard. If you're new to the music arena, here are some suggestions for finding someone to record your music. If you're fortunate to have a retired music professor in the family, like I do, then you can ask them to record something for you. You may also have a friend or other family member who owes you a favor, or you could pay them with dinner or a drink. If you're in an area with a college or a strong high school music department, you could ask for some help from a student. Student may record something as part of a school project, or again, they may enjoy getting a free pizza. I mean, what college student doesn't enjoy getting free pizza? And with the pandemic putting so many musicians out of work, consider hiring a professional musician. Many will ask for a nominal fee if they know it's for a nonprofit organization. You could also negotiate a one-time fee or perhaps get some kind of royalty payment set up with them for a few cents each time a video is viewed. You can also work on payments, work payments into a grant proposal, or ask a business or somebody to sponsor the musician and give them credit in the video credits. Microphones are a most important part of your video production. For indoor shooting, the camera microphone may work, but I would definitely recommend that you invest in an external microphone. If you're outside, you'll get all sorts of extraneous sounds recorded, and think of barking dogs and traffic. It makes it difficult to hear your narrator over that. There are also wireless, Bluetooth, wired, or handheld lapel mics from which you can choose. So as a suggestion, I've found these microphones from Kimafun to be very inexpensive, but yet very good quality. You can get a single wireless version, which you see on the left, for around $50, or the two-person wireless version for around $89 from Amazon. They come with Wi-Fi transmitters and receivers, lavalier mics and windscreens, and a special converter that plugs into your headphone jack. You probably will need to supply that white adapter plug that's shown here if you don't have a headphone jack. I know certain iPhones do not have that headphone jack anymore, so the little white plug does not come as part of the setup here. YouTube has some great how-to videos available. I want to show a short clip from the Total Beginner's Guide to Video Equipment that demonstrates the differences in sound depending on which type of microphones you're using.
Here's an example of a lav at work. I'm outside, I'm standing super far away from the camera, and I'm in a really tricky location, but I'm still getting really great quality sound. Let's switch over to the shotgun mic and see how that stands out. So here's an example of a shotgun mic out here. Not as great, right? Now let's, out of curiosity, switch over to the onboard camera mic and see how that stands out. Okay, so here it is. Can you hear me? Back to the lav. So much better.
And that's what we use is the lavalier mic outside, and it really does make a difference. There have been a few times when we forgot to use the little connector thing with our microphone, and the one place we went to, there was a dog right next door to the cemetery, and it just barked and barked and barked, and it was hysterical. We had to go back and retape afterwards because it just was not usable. One of the things that we've discovered while recording the segments outside is that if we record the narrative indoors, that it's often difficult for us to match the sound quality. So what we've been doing more recently is to record the record the narratives outside of our house using the same equipment setup as for the video segments. The only difference is the iPhone's built-in app voice recorder to record these narratives. So my husband will go out on the deck and we'll stand there and he'll talk to the animals that are in the forest behind our house. And then the video sound for the narration will be closer to that of the video that we recorded outside. I'm not sure what the Android equivalent is for a built-in app. I don't have Android available to me, and the friends that I've asked couldn't really give me an answer. But if you're an Android user and you have a built-in app that can be used for voice narration, go ahead and enter it in the chat so that others can share that information. When you get ready to film, you want to be sure to use landscape mode. This gives you the widest angle for filming, and it looks the best if you're viewing it on a smart TV or on a tablet. The two video segments that I show here on the screen, the girl on the left playing the violin has been filmed in landscape mode, and you can see her and her violin in the surroundings around her. The woman on the right is holding a flute, but it looks like she's in her kitchen cabinet area, and she did it portrait style. So you can see that you don't see all of the woman, and if she moves from side to side, you won't be able to see her as well. And you also get that awful ghosting effect that fills up the rest of the screen behind her. So that's one of the reasons that I prefer to make sure you're in landscape mode instead of portrait. If you want to record all of your segments separately, that is preferable. It helps you move things around more easily when you're doing your editing, and it saves a lot of time in trying to find the sections that you may want to discard. Also, you want to check your audio and video quality after you shoot so that you won't have to return to the site to re-record like we did when we had the barking dogs next door. Photographs can easily be dropped into iMovie or whatever video editor that you might be using. Although it's best to use landscape photos to show the whole photo at one time, Portrait photos may be used for special effects. The Ken Burns effect of panning or zooming a photo to give the illusion of motion that is built in to pretty much every video editing software that you might use these days. The resolution for these images doesn't need to be archival quality, but they do need to be good enough so that when they are enlarged on a large screen that they don't pixelate. My personal preference for editing is to work on my iPad. Here are two images from iMovie, editing with the iPhone on the left and the iPad on the right. While they both have exactly the same functionality, it's easier to do fine-tuning of the editing on the larger screen of my iPad. So to move the images and the videos from the iPhone to the iPad, I use the AirDrop feature that's built in, and that quickly and easily moves things back and forth from one device to the other. And if you're going to be editing these on your computer, you may have to email them or send your video files to a cloud account to get it moved from one device to the other. Another option that I found for iOS users at least is a flash drive that has a lightning connector on one side and a USB on the other. There are other versions of this iDisk product as well. With this, you don't have to email the files to yourself. And it also works well for large files and the thousands of photos and videos that you take so that you can clear up space that's on your device. It also has backup software associated with it. And then depending on the size of the device that you buy, the cost could be anywhere between $20 and $65 on Amazon. Once you have all of your pieces, it's time to start constructing your video. So just like the chef with their mise en place, I like to have everything ready to go before I start editing. These are the steps that I go through when putting together my videos. I start with the video segments and then add the intro music. At the end of the intro video, I add a bunch of photos and put the narration in. If I have too few photos and extra video segments, I lengthen or shorten the photos to accommodate the length of the narration. Once everything is adjusted and the video sequence makes sense with the narration behind it, it's time for me to add the outro music and adjust the end of the music to end with the end of the video. The final steps are adding the titles for the video and any credits or any copyright information. Then to make it look a bit more professional, I prefer to add the fade in and fade out to black to the beginning and the end of the video. The editing process can be as easy or as complicated as you want it to be. iMovie, which comes free and pre-installed on all iPhones and iPads and Mac computers, has a very short learning curve. I've asked my Android friends for an equivalent, and again, I haven't been able to come up with one from them. So if you're an Android user and you have an equivalent to iMovie on your device, again, put it in the chat and we'll share it with others. The iMovie app for iPad and iPhone is somewhat limiting, but has enough bells and whistles for what I need. I've also used PC editing programs such as Pinnacle, and this allows you to have multiple levels of videos and many different styles of title options, including various fonts and various colors. The final thing to check with this is to make sure that the volume levels for all of your segments match. So you may need to back off the narration volume or beef up the intro volume, and then back off the theme music so that the narration can be heard easily over it. This next slide shows a quick video creation and editing segment here, and hopefully you'll be able to hear it and see it okay. But it shows you how quickly you could put together a video using iMovie.
All right, what I'm going to try to show you here are a few of the editing features of iMovie. And starting with the iMovie icon, we'll just click that. On the first screen, we'll choose the plus sign, and that allows us to create a movie or a trailer. So we're going to choose a movie. And for a movie, it asks you to select some video and some photos to go along with this to start it off. So what I'm going to do is scroll down here, the car coming into the school property, and I'm going to start with this one, and then I'm going to add the start of the narration and add him driving away, and then we can create the movie down here at the bottom, and it automatically puts all of the video in for me. I can decide, well, you know, maybe the car there's some extra footage here that I want to get rid of, so I'm going to click on that video frame and split it, and then click on this section. You see how it has the yellow around it, and I'm going to get rid of that by clicking the delete, the trash can. Now I can see it's driving in, and it's going to transition. This little icon here is a transition. You can either dissolve it or slide or wipe or whichever kind of transition you like. I kind of like the dissolved ones myself. And then you can see he starts talking, and we're talking about the field. And then I want to add some more pictures, so I'm going to click on photo and choose the all option here. And then I'm going to find some pictures about Len Dawson, because it's Len Dawson Field, and I'm going to just drop those in. And then we go back here and discover that we need to add the narration that's going to go behind this. I don't have this recorded yet, so we're just going to choose a short file to put in here. So we'll just say that it's the Williamsport version, just to give you an idea. You'll notice that it is blue, and a blue audio allows me to move it around. It should let me move it around. So we can drop it where we want it to start. We can also trim this, so I can split this audio, and maybe I want to get rid of this first part of the intro. We delete that. I can also go back to the beginning and add in the introductory music. So we drop that in there. If you drop it in and you notice that it is green instead of blue, the green will not allow you to move it around. If I move it over here to start it, it's going to bounce back there. So what you need to do is to change it to foreground music. Now if it's blue, that does allow me to move it around. Again, you can splice it and do all sorts of things with that. If we want to extend the photos so that it fits the narration better, if you click on any of the pictures, you'll see how it gives the yellow border around them. That shows that you can actually do something with it. And I'm going to drag the yellow part. And it's a little tricky sometimes. But you can see how I can make it longer or shorter. Also, you'll notice that there's something here called the Ken Burns effect. And that allows me to edit this so that it will start at one point, and then, so say we want to make it big like that, and then end on his face. We can do that. So now when this pans across here, you'll notice that it's going to pan with that Ken Burns effect. You can also turn that off if you wanted just to be a solid image, not doing anything, just sitting there. Another thing that you would probably want to do with the audio, with the intro, is to fade it out at a certain point when the talking begins. So I'm going to hit the, let's see, we're going to trim it a little bit here. So I'm going to trim this, cut that off, and then this section, I'm going to highlight that, hit the volume button that's here, and there's a fade option. So you'll notice this little yellow triangle. I can pull that back across here, and you'll notice that when it plays now, it's going to start getting quieter with the background sound, and it will just fade itself out. So that's how you do a fade out on the music, and you can also do the same thing at the other end by putting your exit music and then fading into that. The other thing I want to show you here is the titles for the movie, and you'll want to split your screen where you want to have your introductory title. So we have this segment, we'll have the title. I like to start off with the introductory part here, putting the name of the series in, and you're not able to do too much with changing fonts or colors or locations. You're pretty much stuck with what they have there, but they're pretty good choices. Okay, and then putting in the episode title underneath, and we'll just call it Len Dawson. So now when the beginning of the movie starts, you'll see that the title comes right up on the screen, and as soon as it gets to that break, it will close off. So that's pretty much the highlights of what you need to do to edit and put together your movie.
So that's the quick and dirty way of putting together a video.
All right, what I'm going to try to show you here.
I can go to the next slide here. There we go. So once all of that editing is completed, it's time for you to save the file and export your final project. Saving the movie to your video or to your Photos app provides easy access to viewing the video and then sharing. After you've saved it, you'll need to upload it to YouTube. We've chosen to post the videos to YouTube and then share them to Facebook. In my opinion, YouTube is more widely accessible. Videos come up in Google searches, and whereas on Facebook, they're kind of hidden, and not everybody has a Facebook account, so they might not be as visible to people. However, if you do have a large following on Facebook, you may choose that as your primary venue. As with any online service that you choose, be sure that you read the license agreements that are there. And in this case, both platforms allow you to retain ownership of your videos, and both can use them for promotional purposes for their services while they are hosting them and making them available to users. So you just need to make sure that you're aware of all of those things. And then one final note about the Apple iMovie proprietary format is that it will not necessarily play on every computer. I use a free program that's called Handbrake, and that converts the MOV file format videos to a standard MP4 format when it's sharing. And it also compresses those large MOV files down to a reasonable size. I've learned a few things along the way with my poke around until you figure it out method production. And first is to make sure you check all of your equipment before you leave the house. Are your batteries charged? Do you have all the cables and pieces for your microphones in your case? There have been times when we've had to circle around the block to come back and pick up something that we forgot when we left the house. Windy days can also be a problem for several reasons. One, your hair may end up in your mouth, or your hat may blow away. Also, unless you have a very good windscreen on your microphone, you're going to get a lot of wind noise that may obliterate your narration. And then on sunny days, you may run into a couple of problems that sometimes you won't see until you start editing your video. One of these occasions was that I've seen myself recording Jim by the reflection of my white pants that I was wearing. It was reflecting off the bright green car. Once we had to completely reshoot that part from a different angle. Another time I was able to zoom in on him during my editing process so that we didn't have to go back and reshoot. Another problem with sunny days involves the transition lenses. The lenses that I have on my glasses darken immediately in sunshine. But fortunately, Jim doesn't have transition lenses, so it doesn't matter quite so much for him. And I just want to include a few notes about YouTube here. First, Google owns YouTube. If you have a Gmail, Google Drive, or any other Google account, you have full access to YouTube. And that includes creating a channel and uploading your videos. Also, all YouTube videos are indexed on Google. The YouTube Studio allows you to edit your video metadata after you upload your video. You can also add a date and time in the future for premiering the video. So it doesn't have to be as soon as you upload it that it's immediately available. You can set a premiere date on it. Now, your mileage may vary, but depending on your internet uploading speed and the speed of your equipment, it may take up to an hour to upload your short 2-minute video. But you must be patient and be attentive to your screen sleep times as well. So you might want to make your screen not go to sleep during this process. If your screen does time out, or if you get bored and go off to surf the web or answer an email, you're probably going to have to start all over again with the upload process, because YouTube needs to be front and center for this whole uploading process. You'll also want to create a YouTube playlist to link all of your series videos together. As one finishes, the next in the playlist will begin to play. And as you're uploading the video, you can take time to fill in the metadata for the video. This includes listing the title, a description, tags, and the location of where you shot the video. This all helps with the findability and the searching when YouTubers are searching for videos that they want to watch. And the last thing to look for is the indication of whether your video was produced for a child audience. This is part of YouTube's child safety provision. If you created this video specifically for children, then answer yes. But otherwise, you want to answer no and indicate that it doesn't have any explicit content for audiences of adults only. After you have all this work done and you've uploaded your videos to the web, they won't do anybody any good unless you publicize your efforts. Free publicity, I feel, is always the best, and I'll share a few suggestions on the next couple of screens. If you go the YouTube route, I strongly suggest that you get a YouTube channel for your group. If you have more than 100 subscribers to that channel, you can get a vanity channel name to further brand your videos. You can see in these two examples, they both go directly to the Alliance History video channel, but when you're sharing the information about it, the one that you see at the bottom is definitely a lot easier to remember and a lot easier to include in all of your correspondence and on your website, things like that. When you promote your videos on your social media accounts, encourage your users to like, share, and comment. These are the 3 steps to getting your posts the most exposure on social media. Since you've done all of the research, you may want to consider reusing this information as a blog post or reposting a link to your other social media accounts. And then don't forget to include this with your newsletter, both to your subscribers and those who are getting it in print. Tell them to go to your video channel and then encourage them to like, share, and comment on those videos. If you're giving a program either virtually or in person, highlight your videos to your audience like I did at the beginning of this presentation. If they're short enough, consider playing one to open or close a talk that you're giving. Write a press release or talk to your local newspaper editor or partner with your local cable channel. These are all free publicity outlets, and with cutbacks that are happening in newsrooms all across the country, you may find it easier than ever to get your videos covered. In this case, the local cable channel had sent out a press release for their weekly listing of what was going to be on cable, and the newspaper editor noticed that we had a video being premiered there about the Sultana marker that was at the city cemetery, and wanted to do a feature story about us featuring the Sultana incident. And then last but certainly not least, consider submitting your video to a media category award. And then make sure you publicize that you received the award for even more free publicity. And you'll have to watch us tomorrow during the video awards ceremony. We have a special video that we created for our acceptance. YouTube offers a series of training videos on the various aspects of filming, editing, and uploading your videos. This is where I found the beginner's guide to video equipment that I showed earlier in the program regarding the differences in microphones. She also includes information on various cameras and lighting effects and things like that. So they're very good short videos and will teach you an awful lot. These are recommended by YouTube as some of the best practices that are available. And there's also user communities out there that you can go to and share information or ask questions. And speaking of asking questions, we'll finish up here with. So, thank you very much. I guess I stop sharing now.
Okay, Karen, you can't hear everybody, but we're all clapping for you. Great job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so we have a couple questions, and again, feel free to keep adding as we go along. We've got plenty of time, so if you have a question, please put it in the Q&A option. So far, they both are from Kyle. What video recording equipment camera is being used? Is it just an iPhone? Are there other video recording equipment that would be suggested by you?
Well, I'm just using my iPhone, and it has, for what we've done, I'm really surprised at how well these videos have been turning out. In my job as the librarian, we did a series of oral history videos, and we had this huge Panasonic camera with the videotapes and everything in it. But for what we're doing, I think something like an iPhone or an Android, if there's somebody that has an Android suggestion for cameras or whatever, I'd love to hear it, because I haven't been able to get any information from my library colleagues that have Androids.
Okay, so. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Next one, again from Kyle. How much time would you estimate is that you put into creating one video from start to finish?
When I first started with this project, it took me a long time to figure out where everything went in here. Now I can put together one of these in probably about 15 or 20 minutes because I have a formula down now and I can figure out, okay, drop this in, oh, find this, drop that in, expand, add the titles, boom, I'm done. But I would say, depending on how long the video is going to be, it probably takes us about, I'd say maybe an hour and a half of gathering everything together. And then the actual editing process is what takes the little amount of time. But you want to invest all the time up front of getting everything that you're going to need in recording, listening, viewing it before you leave the spot, just to make sure you've got everything covered. Does that help?
Yes, it does. Okay, next question's from Natalie. Do you use a stabilizer for your iPhone when filming or a stand?
I haven't yet. We just purchased a tripod. When I did the video of how to do the editing, that was using a stand. So I had my iPad on the table and I had the phone on the thing and I sat in between trying to figure out how to do that. But I've been fairly steady with my hands because I like to, some of the videos are like a statue. And so I'll do a pan, slow pan up like this. And if I had some kind of fancy gaff type rolling equipment, that would be one thing. But I'm trying to be as steady as I can to just make it a little bit easier. But yeah, if you're just doing a segment where you're just standing and getting a video, you might want to use a tripod for that.
Okay, great. Another question from Natalie. How does your transfer additional images to your iPad for editing? Do you take photos of the primary material or send them to the iPad?
I do take pictures. I have another app on my phone that is called Scanner Pro. I think that cost about $15 to buy. So it was a pay app. And that is a really cool little feature because instead of taking a photograph and then having to try to adjust it and everything, it acts like a photo scanner and you can actually, sit over top of it with your camera and take the picture and then it will automatically de-skew everything for you. So it's a really cool little app. Another good phone scanning app is Free Options Cam Scan. I haven't heard of that one. So thanks, Natalie, for that. But invest a little bit of money in a couple of decent apps. Otherwise, the photos and things that we have work pretty well. As far as moving things back and forth, before I discovered AirDrop, which makes life so easy, I invested in that iDisk and was ecstatic when I found that there was actually a flash drive that had an iPhone adapter on one end and a USB on the other end. And that just made my life so much simpler, being able to get things from one device to the other. So that are some of the ways. You can also email files back and forth to yourself.
Okay, very good. So Tony had a question. I joined late. What is the name of the organization that you suggested for video awards? That's the Ohio Local History Alliance awards. Samantha's going to get you a link. We've already awarded them for this year, but it's something for you to look at next year. And they're not necessarily video specific. That's just the one that Karen won this year was for her presentation.
Right.
Karen, can you talk about applying for that a little bit, just so Tony has an idea of what it is you did for the application?
Yeah, there's a notice that comes out April, May, sometime around then, June, from the Ohio Local History Alliance. to basically strut your stuff. There's a number of categories. Ours have been awarded primarily in the media category, and that's what the one for our videos is the media category. There's also two levels. Like our organization's annual budget is under $25,000 a year, and then there's one for over $25,000. So we're in the small group, and you just fill out a form, submit some letters of recommendation. We've been able to get letters from our mayor, from the Chamber of Commerce president, the local foundation president, just to kind of support the fact that we're trying to promote the city in a favorable light. And it's a fairly straightforward, easy process to go through, but it's definitely well worth it because you're bringing recognition to your organization and to your community.
Thank you. So I don't see any more questions, but I have a question for Karen. Okay, so this was a great presentation, but I can already sense some people are very overwhelmed. They've never tried to do video editing before, and they're like, just forget it. I'm not going to be able to figure this out. How do you alleviate those fears?
Well, the thing is just get out there and do it. We had a Chamber of Commerce program for our marketing committee a few years ago, and somebody came in from one of the regional advertising companies, and they were talking about video and this and that, and that was what you had to do your social media, because nobody was reading anything. They just wanted video, and they actually created a video right then and there in the workshop, and it was like, wow, it's really that easy. So I would say get your phone out, turn on the video, record something else, and then just plug into iMovie and go for it. Because I think, that's the only way you learn, is to make mistakes and just try it.
Great, thank you.
We're not Neil Zurcher, but my husband has been referred to as Neil Zurcher Jr.
I think it's well deserved. He does a great job, and so do you.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, we do have another question snuck in from Diane. By the way, we only have like 1 or 2 more minutes. How do you choose your topics? Entertainment value, informational, or topical?
Our topics are primarily, the first focus we had was on historical markers that are in town. And then we wanted to focus on other things that were around town that people might not know about, or they pass it every day, but they have no idea why it's there. And so between those things, we've got a list of 20 more to go. So I'll be busy all winter.
Great. I think that's it. Thank you so much, Karen. And thank you to everybody who attended this presentation. We really do appreciate it, and have a great rest of the conference.
Thank you.